So the product rule, you'll hear me say rule and property kind of interchangeably. I like to call them properties. Okay. So the product property, not properties, sorry. Remember, we're treating these as exponents. So whenever you are multiplying, that's what product means, right? When you're multiplying with exponents, you end up adding them. So whenever you have a log, and you have some type of a base, right? Whatever base we want to use, we're using a here, and we're multiplying two things together, like x and y. We can do what we call expand. So you're going to see these instructions. You're going to see like expand the log using a property. So expand means it's all written as one log. They want you to expand it out. Now since we're multiplying two things, that's why we have each one of them gets its own log. So each one will get a log with the same base. And because these are exponents, right? You have to think of them as exponents. We add them, because that's what you do when you're multiplying. Exponents get added. So that's called expanding. There's also instructions that will say condense, which just simply means write it as one log. So let's say I had this out. Let's say I had log, and we're just going to have base 10. We're going to use a common log, so I don't have to write a base every time. All right, so I have log A plus log B plus log C plus log D. And I want that written as one log. I want to condense that. That means I'm going to write the word log just one time. What do I do with the A, B, C, and D? I'm going to multiply them, aren't I? A, B, C, D. A times B times C times D. Well, I've made up an example that isn't in your notes already.
So that's all you have to do?
Yeah.
Well,
Right. Right. If they happen to have some numbers in them that match a base, that type of thing, then we can always simplify it from there. But here's the basic concept of that. So let's try number 7. Go ahead and work on number 7. How many things are being multiplied? 2. So how many times are you going to write the word log? 2. Go ahead and do that. They have the same base. Each one gets its own, so the 3 gets a log and the x gets a log. And what symbol goes in between?
plus.
A plus sign? Can anything be simplified?
Yeah.
Yeah. So log 3 base 3 is 1, so we would rewrite this as 1 plus log x base 3. So anything that can be simplified should be simplified. How about number 8? It's a lot like number 7, isn't it? Log x times y, base is 2. So it should look just like number 7, except we won't have to simplify anything. And how about number 9? How many things are being multiplied here? 4? Okay. So we're going to write the word log 4 times, and each one of them has a base of 1/2, right? So log 1/2 to the 3, and then the log base 1/2 goes to the m, and then we have a log 1/2 to, and then we have a p, and then we have one for the d, right? And plus signs between them all because they're all being multiplied. And that's it. Because we can't really simplify. The only one with a number is that first one. And that's not commonly known, that 1/2 raised to some power is 3. So If we can't do that easily in our head with some common number, then we're just going to leave it go at that. Make sense? Awesome. Now let's go the other way. Let's condense. Let's put them back together again. Let's do number 10. How many times do you see the word log written? 2 times. How many times are we going to write the word log for our answer? Just once. Good. So log, the base is 2. Yeah, and so here, you could write it as x5, or you could write it as 5x, because there's a property called the commutative property, right? The commutative property works for both addition and multiplication, which means we can switch the orders of things, and the answers come out to be the same. We're not going to be able to do that when we're subtracting, when we're using the division or the quotient property, right? So standard notation here would be 5x, so we'll split it up like that. How about 11? How many things are you seeing here? I'm seeing 2. And they're all numbers, aren't they? Well, what are you supposed to do? We're going to multiply them, aren't we? Okay, so here's the benefit of this property. Because right now, if I tried to evaluate each one of these logs separately, I don't know. 6 raised to some power is 3. I don't know. You know what I mean? That's not an easy number. It's going to be some weird decimal number. And 6 raised to some power is 12. I don't know. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. But if I put them together using this property, and I do 3 times 12, that's 36. Now, all of a sudden, I can evaluate this. My answer is 2. So that's why we would do that property. It makes math easier. It depends on what the instructions were. If the instructions just said, use the property to condense, then you would be fine to leave it at log 36 base 6. If the instructions said, use the property to condense and then evaluate if possible or simplify if possible, then yeah, you would lose some points to not take that next step. Because you can simplify that easily. All right, how about this one? Log 16 base 4 plus 2 log 2 base 4. What do you notice about this one? It's going to have the power property included, isn't it? So, we need to take care of that first, don't we? Where does this 2 out here go? Becomes an exponent, right? Okay. So now we've got log base is 4, and I'm doing 16 times what? 4. 2 squared is 4. Well, what's 16 times 4? 64. And we should all know this one by now. What's the missing exponent? 3. 4 to the 3rd power is 64.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Okay. Now, this is an example of one that I don't think saves you really time to use the property. Because when I look at the very beginning of it, I'm like, log 16 base 4 is 2, isn't it? So I'm going to use a different color here. So this value right here is 2. And then 2 squared is 4. So log 4 base 4 is 1. And 2 plus 1 is 3. So this is an example of one that I might have chosen a different route. I maybe would not have used this particular property to stick everything together, because separated I was able to do in my head. Now in number 11, I couldn't do those things separated in my head. I don't know what log 3 base 6 is and what log 12 base 6 is. But together, that made an easy problem. In number 12, it worked either way. So you have to pick, hey, which way works easier for you? Doesn't matter. One way is not more right than the other. Make sense?
So they'll like both work.
Mm-hmm. They'll both work. Okay, so what do you think the last property is? Quotient. Yeah, we're going to be dividing now. And here's the deal. It's the same exact thing as a product property, except instead of a plus sign, you're going to use a minus sign. That's the only difference. Okay, so let's try these. So the quotient rule. Order definitely counts here. Whenever you're writing those out, you always want your numerator to come first and then your denominator. So let's look at number 13. The base is 2, and it's 2 divided by 3. So how many times are you going to write the word log? 2 times. One for the, not for the base of 2, right? Base doesn't include in this, but one for the 2 numerator and one for the 3 denominator. They both have bases of 2. So everybody good here? Can anything be simplified? Log 2 base 2 is 1, isn't it? Now log 3 base 2 is not a commonly known number. So we'll just leave it as log 3 base 2. (14) Log x squared divided by y. How many times am I going to write the word log? 2 times. One for the x squared and one for the y. What's the base of this log? 7? Thank you. Now, if the instruction said to expand, I'm not allowed to have any exponents. Yeah, power rule. What needs to go with that 2? What has to happen to the 2? Right. So you might want to put somewhere in your notes that if you are expanding, you should not have any exponents. And then finally, number 15. What's going on here? We've got 2x over m. We've got 3 separate things, don't we? 2 is being multiplied by x. 2 is being multiplied by x, right? And then divided by m. And so each one gets its own log, right? But what is going to go between the 2 and the x? A plus sign, and then we're going to have a minus sign here to show the division. Can anything be simplified? Log 2 base 4? What would that be? Nope. 1/2. Square root.
Oh, I thought you had to like do the 2x as the same exponent. I didn't know you had to separate it.
There are no exponents here.
I mean, with the 2x, I thought you used that as like.
Well, even if we put it together as one and we would say log 2x minus log m, then we would say, oh, 2x is being multiplied. We got to break it up. So when you are expanding, you can't have any parts together, right? Everything has to be separated out. So the part that I'd like you to work on tonight is to do 16, 17, 18, and then 19 and 20. So 16 through 20, I'd like you to try on your own. Okay? I'd like you to try that on your own. If you want to get a head start on the assignment, it's already written on the page. We're going to work on that some of the time, but not all of the time tomorrow. So I will give you some class time to work on that. I would recommend working on some of it at home, so that way you can come tomorrow with just questions. Then you would not have homework over the weekend. Right? So that would be my advice.
Miss Harper, Mrs. Harper, I'm not going to be here tomorrow for her day.
Yep, so you already know your assignment.
I think she knows she's not going to be here.